Hi, my name is Gil Robertson, president of the African American Film Critics Association. And today for AAFCA Roundtables, we are talking to the cast members of Fatal Affair, the new Netflix film that will debut on Netflix this Friday. Guys, without further ado, I'm going to introduce the members of our association who have joined us today. We have the Curvy critic, Carla, Renata, is it Sherman Oaks, Encino, or in
Lake
Los
Balboa.
Angeles?
It's Lake
in
Balboa.
We have Anthony in Houston, the movie brother. We have a new member, DJ Chris Styles in Cleveland. We have Mercedes Springer in Atlanta. We have Katia Woods in Philadelphia. We have Mercedes Williams in Pittsburgh. We have Al McGhee in South Florida.
Hey.
We have Rhonda Rasha Penrice in Atlanta. We have Malik Adan in Oakland, Oaktown. We have Emmanuel Eman in Chicago. And we have Ray Cornelius in Atlanta. So without further ado, I'm going to let you guys do what you do so well. I will see you soon.
What's up, guys? Ant here, the movie brother. What's good? First and foremost, I want to say I did get an opportunity to see the film, and I was thoroughly entertained. It was good to see the wife mess up for a change instead of the brother. You know, a lot of times we the ones that screw it up. So you know, I appreciate that. But I did enjoy the film. My question to you, Stephen, as well as Omar. You know, Gil mentioned earlier about COVID, right? And born out of this, something unfortunate, right? Everybody's dealing the best way that we can, right? We have this forum that we're doing now in the roundtable. My question to you guys, from your side, you know, of the camera and industry and what you're doing, what silver lining, you know, have you discovered, if any, with how the industry has changed because of the pandemic?
That's a good question. You want to take it, Stephen?
Well, sure, I'll take it. As far as how the industry has changed because of COVID, I don't know that I can find a silver lining. I mean, we have been out of work. We've been scrambling to find ways to reopen our sets and do it in the safest way possible. But we're hamstrung by the fact that cities and states are not, you know, sending their people back to work. You know, when you first asked about a silver lining, I thought you were going to ask about the silver lining in general, which would be, you know, being able to spend more time with our children, and me being a father of a young, you know, a 2.5-year-old, not missing any milestones or anything like that. And but as far as being in the business and how what kind of silver lining, I guess the only thing I could say is that the streaming platform, which this film happens to be on, has, you know, had a tremendous boom because of the fact that we've been locked in the house, and they're getting an opportunity to test the new model, and it's I think it's showing that it's going to be a very viable option in the future that people are going to even more gravitate to than they already have been before this. You know, without being able to go to theaters and things like that, people are forced to watch films and television shows on platforms like this. And I think Netflix and others like it can really see that just as many people, if not more people, are willing to do that than go to the theater.
I would piggyback on that, that outside of the logistically, right, we're in uncharted waters. So they're putting together these new guidelines and zones and all of that stuff that we'll have to deal with on sets when that happens. But I think a potential silver lining is more from a cultural standpoint, from an art standpoint, that this you know, these everything that we're dealing with in our American society, all of these movements sort of culminating and coming together. And I would hope that the silver lining is us taking advantage of this collective crisis of consciousness, if you will, And I think that art that will be born from this is going to be incredible. If you think about, if you're, 13, 14, 15 and watching things happen, but you're an aspiring filmmaker, or you're an aspiring, director. So I think that could be the potential silver lining down the road.
Definitely. Well, thank you guys, and wishing you the best on this project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad you enjoyed it.
Hey, Omar and Steven. This is Carla, Renata, the Curvy Critic in LA. How y'all doing?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm good, good. So I know both of you have oftentimes played leading men in a lot of films, and not necessarily in thrillers though. You know what I mean? You guys have been leading men, romantic leading men in other types of films. Do you enjoy doing the roles in the thrillers, or do you like being the romantic leads? And for Omar, I know in Traffic, you were the person being hunted, but this time you were the person doing the hunting. And which one do you enjoy the best?
Ooh. Well, for me, that's why aside from the opportunity to work with Nia again and work with Steven, I jumped at it, because the character was just like, I knew like my fan base would be like, I've never seen him, in a role like this. And then from a creative standpoint, it was super refreshing for me as an actor, because, it's playing a guy who's delusional. There's probably some mental health issues that went unchecked, and it gets dark. And so that was fun. And like my favorite thing to do when we were filming this was I would creep out the script supervisor. So whenever we did a take, I would look at her and she would be like, that was creepy. And I was like, all right, I nailed it. But I think, we had fun, man. It was seeing Black and brown people in a film like this and it was so picturesque, right? It was beautiful scenery, and I love the fact that it's this husband, wife, they had a kid, they're successful, and we don't have to explain the why. It's just they're successful, and we're humans, so we have human stories, and getting a chance to, Netflix giving us a chance to get this out there, I think is important.
You have anything to add to that, Steven?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw it, but I did a thriller called Till Death Do Us part.
Yes, I did.
A couple of years ago, and that was my one opportunity to play the psycho, guy that Omar gets to play right now. And for me, I really enjoyed it as well, because it was a stretch. It was something where I could spread my wings as an actor, and like Omar said, give my fan base a view that they had not seen before. The only issue I had with it was, and I don't know if Omar experienced this or not, but because I got so deep into the character and allowing the demons that we all have to come to the surface and live at the surface for a number of weeks, where I was really on edge, it took me a little while to come out of that. It took me a good week and a half to 2 weeks to get away from that character and that edge, and push those demons back down into the recesses of my psyche. You know what I mean? So as much as I liked it, I said I would never do it again, just because this guy was he was a wife beater. He was a little bit more domestic violence guy than what we're seeing. And actually, now that I think about it, Omar's character was that in his previous engagement as well. But I didn't like my character at all. And that was kind of interesting, having to go to work every day and play a character that I absolutely despised. That was weird, but yeah, it was fun to have the stretch. Omar, did it take you a while to come out of this character, or was it pretty easy?
It was, I've developed a process of decompression as an actor, which I think is important, because it's the roles vary, but certainly when you play in the dark energy, it can weigh on you and those around you and your family and all of that. So everyone has a different process. This one, it was just like, all right, I have to really focus on decompression get it back together. And besides that, my wife would just knock me upside the head back in reality. So I was like, all right.
Well, I enjoyed both of y'all in the film. I was screaming at the screen because, you know, I love thrillers. It's like my jam. So I was screaming at the screen and just having a really good time. So thank you for taking time to speak to us today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How you guys doing? DJ Chris Styles, WOVU 95.9 FM. Great film. I watched it twice last night and make sure I wasn't missing anything. Great job, Omar.
Thank you.
Great job. My question is, one thing I pulled out the flick, and I think it was real prevalent to everything, is the mental health of Black men, and how he went to a therapist and in therapy. How prevalent is it now? Like, more films are showing that with Black men going to therapy, or things that in that nature that's going on with our community.
Yeah, I think it's becoming very prevalent. I mean, obviously we touch on it a bit in this particular piece, but I think the greater conversation is destigmatizing that, right? Like, you have people like, you know, Charlamagne the God is out there talking about mental health, and we all have. I mean, look at what we've been living in. Everyone's been affected, you know, in some shape, form, or fashion. But I think within our community, within our men, I think that there are broader discussions that are becoming destigmatized, because when you look at like the music, you know, you look at an artist like a Kid Cudi, he's just coming out with his issues, and I think it makes it easier to have those conversations. And you know, for people, therapy is not a bad thing, right? When I was a kid, it was like, what? You talk to somebody, you know? But we've sort of learned within the Black community, like, no, that can actually be an asset to you moving forward and to your overall evolvement and growth.
Same with you, Stephen, and with your comments on that.
I think that it's a good thing that we are starting to have the conversations about mental health. I mean, how, you know, as Black people in this country, how could we not have, you know, at least a little subtle form of PTSD with all the stuff that we watch on television and we watch in the news about ourselves and our peers and our children, you know, being treated the way that we sometimes get treated in this country and around the world. So I think that, you know, much like Omar said, for too long, it had been a stigma, feeling the need to express those emotions and get those things out and try to make some sense of it. And I do think that it's a good thing that we're now starting to feel a little freer and a little less insecure about sharing those things with each other and going and trying to work things out with people who have studied for a long time on how to help us through those woods.
Thank you.
Sorry, had to unmute. Hi, Omar. Hi, Stephen. I'm Mercedes out of Atlanta with She Critiques, and She Critiques on YouTube and Instagram. My question, kind of digging more into this mental illness component that we're talking about. For your character, Omar, what lane did you go down? Where did you categorize your character, whether it was domestic violence, bipolar? Like, where did you see him going, and how did you get to that path? Like, how did you categorize him and take it down that road?
To be honest, he was a narcissist. Ultimately, he was a narcissist. He wanted control, and you know, in his previous relationship, he wasn't able to achieve that, and so now he wanted to, you know, enforce control on this thing that's only existing in his head. This relationship is really in his head. And so that's kind of how I approached it. Even though obviously he and Nia's character, you know, they had what's the word? A tryst.
An entanglement. It's an entanglement.
Nah, don't do it. Don't do it. But even though she had engaged with him, you know, it doesn't, I mean, you know, stuff happens. We're humans. Sometimes we make mistakes, but it doesn't entitle others to sort of shift your reality, if you will. So, but yeah, I just thought he was a narcissist, and I started from there.
And I guess with the narcissism, let's talk to all the brothers there. So what is the line between persistent and psycho? Like, when did he cross that line?
That's a good one. I mean, because we're taught to be persistent. And that's the funny thing. Like when we're growing up and it's like, oh, the girl you liked in grade school, it's like, you know, keep trying. And then she comes around one day. But I think we all know that line. I think that, you know, it's a clear, defined line, right? It's the same line as, you know, no means no. And so, you know, but you know, persistence works sometimes.
Thank you.
Hi guys, this is Reggie Ponder, the Real Critic out of Chicago. Omar, I want to ask you a question first, and then I have one for you as well, Stephen. My question for you, Omar, is that you talked about the silver lining a little bit from an industry perspective, but for me, it's like this was the kind of movie you do want to be in the theater, because I was talking to the screen like Carla. I was over like, no, don't. What? So how do you feel about not having or providing that for your audience?
That's a great question, because it's something that, I mean, it sucks, right? Like this, I feel the same way I mean, we all felt, Stephen and Nia, we were like, people are gonna be screaming at the screen, throwing popcorn and stuff like that. But I think that, you know, we've all had to adapt. We've all gotten used to, you know, streaming content, watching content in our homes. And so that's kind of the momentary theater for us, you know, even though, you know, some people have to do social distancing, but you still have families living together and what have you. So hopefully, you know, because we're still in this thing, you know, people will get to have that experiences just from the comfort of their couches.
Cool. I don't buy it, man.
Hopefully they don't break any TV.
I needed somebody because I was about to break the TV. So, Stephen, for you, my question is, look, when does the wife supposed to tell you the stuff? Because when Omar comes into the crib, man, she should have told you something. Help a brother out, man. I'm having problems, man.
Yeah, man, and that's why the character was like, man, this man, he drank my beer. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's a situation where if you put yourself in her shoes, I think the first instinct for anybody is going to be like, okay, let me just ride this out, and hopefully nothing blows up in the moment right here. But yeah, when he shows up, that's a real difficult place for her to be, because she's like, okay, is he going to cause a problem here? Or, you know, so I think that it's a really fine line of when she should have told him. I mean, I guess a lot of people would say she should have told him right away, but then there's other people that would say that, you know, she caught herself in the moment and she did the right thing, so she, you know, she can keep it to herself and just move on without. It's really tough, man. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't even have a real answer for it, man. I just know that he shouldn't have been drinking my beer.
and I see Omar laughing, so he might have a comment on that.
No, that was one of that was one of those moments where when we read the script or just talking with Neil, we were like, this has to hit. Like and even the way that it was shot, it was like up until the last second, is, you know, the reveal, like, is this dude, did he come to my home where my children sleep?
With my children?
That's when that's the turn, as emotionally as the audience, you like, uh-oh, this is about to go left.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say, even too, another layer, what I thought was beautiful about your character, and also, I mean, obviously how you played him, but the fact that they went through that and he still loved her, and he loved her through that. I just thought that's one of those beautiful wrinkles that we don't really get to see. You know, when it comes to Black and brown imagery on film, it's always, you know, yeah, the dude messes up, the girl takes him back, but he stuck by her side, and I thought that was dope.
Yeah, somebody asked me about that yesterday, and I said that, you know, I admired his maturity, you know, his emotional maturity to say, you know, I understand that I have a responsibility in this too. I haven't been really giving you what you've needed. I've been, you know, going through this injury with these meds and all that, so I do play a part in this. I'm not going to say I'm not mad, but we have so much invested in this and so much love, more love under this bridge than bad water. So let's just work it out together. And I thought that was really mature of him, and I commend the writer on that, you know.
Hey, I see Nia has joined, so I just like to ask Nia.
Hi guys.
Hi Nia.
How are you? Hi
Good.
Steven. Hi Omar.
Looking like you about to be strutting down the stage, putting on a performance. So beautiful.
I am. I'm trying to decide who I'm going to be next. Somebody from the 80s, clearly, with the feather action I got going on.
Beautiful.
So Nia, my question to you is that I just asked, when should you have told, as your character, have told your husband what was going on? Firstly, you were making me mad, all right? I'm like, come on, girl, tell him. But that was me, you know, as a guy. So what do you think about that whole situation? Because you didn't tell, and when he came to the house, that's the thing that got me.
Well, I think it's a slippery slope. And I think it's safe to assume that, you know, this was an isolated incident that happened over a relatively short period of time. And I think every time she tried to get control of the situation spiraled more and more out of control until it imploded. And so what you have is a love triangle. And, you know, fear will cripple you in any type of way. And I do think she was just crippled and she was afraid. And she was clearly wrong. And I think, you know, everyone can relate to having those moments in their relationship where it feels like we've been doing this a long time. Yes, we're partners. Yes, we love each other. But is the spark still there? That doesn't mean you should go out and, you know, make out with your ex or hook up with someone else. It just means that you need to get a little bit more creative in your relationship.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey guys, Kathy out of Philadelphia, Couple Soul Show. One thing I did like about the film is that the woman was shown to be the one, as Reggie and Ann said, to be the one being messy, even though she didn't full-fledged go out with her with the physical act. So my question is, do you think that it's cheating? Because to me, like, a form of cheating can be like her sitting down with this man that she hasn't seen in a long time and talking about the intimate details of her marriage, of her relationship, which, you know, in itself can be a form of giving permission. And in this particular case, Omar's character just happened to be full-fledged crazy and take advantage of that. So do you feel that cheating doesn't necessarily have to be just an intimate act, but can also be allowing another person, inadvertently giving them permission into your relationship?
I think there's all sorts of cheating, but it's only called cheating if it goes against your agreement with your partner. I mean, we're living in a time where people are redefining what family is and how they want to do it and what they want to do, and that's their business. I don't judge anyone. I don't think the traditional family really is, I think we can be traditional within our family, but I don't think the status quo of husband, wife, and 3.5 kids is necessarily successful for everyone. So you got to talk to your dude about that.
I'd say you.
You got to ask him how he feels. I mean, I personally wouldn't do it. I'm pretty loyal. I don't think you go, I'd rather end something before I go outside of my relationship and disrespect the person I'm with. So that's just me though. Everybody's different.
And I totally agree, Nia. Like I think it's contingent upon, you know, the agreement between those two people. And then it's like, because you can't not see things. If a man sees a beautiful woman or a woman sees a beautiful man or what have you, you know, because some people think, are you cheating mentally? Are you cheating emotionally with your work husband or your work wife? Like, it's really, I think, about two people communicating, you know, what the type of relationship they would like to have. They set up those parameters, and to Nia's point, anything outside of that is sort of breaking the rules.
Got it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Al McGhee with Your Entertainment Ticket. First of all, I want to say hello to Stephen, Omar, and the beautiful Nia. Oh my God, I've dreamed about you for many years, but I'm not like David. Okay, I'm not like David, the character in the movie. But anyway, I got a question for each one of you. First of all, Stephen, your character Marcus, do you feel that you were a soft husband? I mean, you put a lot of trust in your wife, but you feel that you were a little soft in the, with her in a relationship, especially when another guy come to your house and drink your beer. And Omar, your character David, now you infatuated with this woman, but you never had sex with her. So, I mean, how would you so fascinated with her, even though you said you were fascinated with her since college? And Nia, in this film, you felt that your relationship was not as exciting as it used to be. And do you feel that that also played with your character too, Ellie? Whoever want to go first.
Well, I mean, we'll go. I will go in order, I guess. Yeah, I do think that Marcus was a little softer than people might like to see him be. He was an artsy guy. He was very loving of his wife and very had a lot of deference to her. And I think that I played him that way purposely. I wanted to show him being a little less of the alpha guy that I often play, and a little more of a guy who was more in love with his wife than she might be with him. So yeah, I do. You're right. That's a good observation. I do think I did play him to be a little bit softer than some guys might have wanted him to be.
Right. Well, thank you.
Yeah. And for my character, I mean, I think he was more. He had time. He had over 20 years to be thinking about this woman.
That's what I mean. But you never touched her.
But there was another wrinkle that I thought was important to fuel that is that his ex-girlfriend looked like Nia's character. So that just shows you how he was a little bit of psychopath in his mind, and he was delusional. He was in his head. But nothing good can come from lusting after somebody for over 20 years.
So that's the whole movie made. That's a whole story in your head. I don't remember what the question was. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. The question is this: earlier when you was talking to David at the bar and talking about your relationship, do you feel that Ellie's just felt that her relationship was really down and she wanted more out of him, or she wanted someone else?
Oh, I absolutely think she loves her husband. Like, that's no question. She loves her family. She loves her husband. She loves what they've created together. But something was missing. And I think oftentimes when someone goes outside of their relationship, it's because they're going through something personally. And when you address those issues, you can actually be happy and content within your relationship if it's the right partner for you. So what I think is she got caught up in a moment. I think she was bored. And I think she was going through a life change, having, her daughter start school, leaving a big company. Maybe she wasn't as confident as she had been in the past. And, she runs into her old sort of crush or, just someone who felt familiar. And, we don't oftentimes know why we attach ourselves to things from the past, or what is that thing that makes you want to feel something like nostalgia. And so maybe that was it. I'm not really sure. I think all of those things are things that I think about as as we were playing these scenes. And some of it, you just got to trust what comes out of your mouth and being in the moment. That's honestly, this is why I I called Omar the minute I got the script because I've never done this genre, and I knew that I needed someone who I could trust to play those scenes because some of them are kind of difficult. And hands down, everyone was like, call Stephen Bishop. He'd be like the perfect husband for this, story. And, we spent a lot of time on set talking about baseball and hanging out. So I was really I had two really strong bookends in this. And I think when a woman feels supported, she can do anything. So, your support in any artistic situation is probably the most important thing.
Well, I want to thank you guys for answering my question. And this was a good popcorn movie. And I feel that Peter Sullivan, the director, did a great job with you three top talents. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Albert.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we need to get an insert.
Hello, my name is Mercedes. I am also known as Movie Scene Queen. I'm stationed here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Thank you guys so much for being here. Zoom did not want me to be on this call. It kept messing up, but I'm finally here and I'm glad to be connected with you guys. How was it working with each other on set? Assuming that everything looks different, chemistry is different with every project. How was it working with getting to know all three? Maybe again, if this is other projects, but just working with each other on this movie.
You want to take that, Dan?
Go first. It was great. We've all been in this game, a really long time. We've all had our own individual experiences, and Omar and I have worked together before. And we're both from Brooklyn, so it's like there's an instant brother sisterhood there. And I've watched and admired Stephen's work for a long time. And look, it's just important that we tell diverse stories. We show a different side of life. We don't have to just be one thing. And that's what movie making and filmmaking and television is all about. And in these times where the world is seemingly like falling apart and we're, in a situation where we're on computers talking about a movie, it feels sort of self-serving, especially because we're all Black. And I think, I kind of went back and forth in my mind, like, how do I talk about this film and share it with the world and not seem like I'm being self-serving? And I think what we have to remember is film and television has always been used as escapism. And, we need a little bit of that right now as we take breaks from the movement. But I think as soon as the movie's over, let's get back to work.
Sure. And for me, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
No, go ahead, Go ahead,
No, I was just gonna say, me and I have a great relationship. We've known each other over 20 years, and she knows this, but I call her. She's one of my favorite dance partners. Like, we just have a shorthand. That's my creative kindred. So, I was thrilled to come on board and also to be a part of. This is the first film that she's produced, and from the ground up, to watch that process unfold, and she really did the damn thing. Just attention to detail, from everything, from obviously from the script and stuff like that, but even to like wardrobe, and she really did it. So that was, I'm just so proud of her, And with Stephen, we had a great time, and I knew he was gonna be good because my best friend, when he found out, he was like, "Oh, you doing a movie with Bishop? Oh, you're gonna have a great time, man. He's just such a good dude." And so we just kind of gel from the gate. You remember the first time we sat down and we all started talking story and talking character, and we really all put our hands in the pot, try to create something that, to Nia's point, is kind of like that escapism. It's kind of right now it's kind of a breath of fresh air, hopefully, for people to get people's minds off stuff. But it was a great process.
For me, it was a little bit different. I had a fantastic experience, but what I want to bring you guys into is I'm a guy who has been watching these two phenomenal actors even before I was an actor. And I've come up in the game and I've earned my right to work with these people. And my first instinct was I just want to make sure that they both are happy that I got this job. And especially Nia, because I knew that, as Omar said, she was producing, and I knew that I was going to be doing the bulk of my work with her. I really wanted to, to make a good impression on her, and to, as an actor, show that I was going to be able to be opposite her in a fashion that would make her feel good about what she had to do and didn't feel like she was going to have to carry me. So there was a little bit of apprehension there for me at the beginning, but after our first scene, and I said this yesterday, after our first scene together, Nia's energy showed me that she was happy with the choice, and that she kind of gave me an energetic stamp of approval, and it allowed me to free up and create, more and more chemistry as the shoot went on. I have to say that, working with Nia was such a good experience, because she's such a professional, and she's so prepared to have the hat of being the producer and being the lead actor in the film. And still, every time she didn't miss a beat. And so, Nia, thank you again for, the opportunity, but also thank you for being such a good person to work with. It was such a good experience, and I really hope we get a chance to do it again. And as far as with Omar, like he said, his best friend is a really good friend of mine as well. And so, we kind of already had a feeling. And then when we got a chance to talk and talk off screen, and then, we got to do our fight scene together where we had to do choreography together. That was fun, man. It was all around. It was just a really, really enjoyable experience.
I want to thank you guys so much for being here with us on this call. Miss Nia Long, you are gorgeous. Everything is and glowing with you right now.
That's because there's nowhere to go and nothing to do. I just eat a lot of vegetables, drink a lot of green juice, and go to bed early. And I swear, every night around 9:15, I'm like, oh, it's time to go to bed. Because the days have just become longer and longer and longer. I'm like, just go to sleep, go meditate, and wait until tomorrow.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'm, woof. These are very interesting times, and they will be in the history books, and we will be talking about this for years to come. And I just hope that this movement, this push for equality, this push for fairness, this push for having a platform where what we say and think matters, is something that's continuous, so that when we come back to this time again, because we know that we will, because everything in life is cyclical, that we are better and more prepared than we were before. And I was trying to explain to my 8-year-old, because he said to me, I thought this is kind of off topic, but I think you guys will appreciate this story. My 8-year-old woke up and he started to cry, and I said, baby, what's the matter? And he says, I'm afraid to grow up. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, poor thing. He's like feeling like he's leaving the baby stage and he doesn't know what. And I said, well, why are you afraid? And he said, because when I grow up, I'm going to be a Black man, and I'm afraid that the police are going to kill me. And I just, as a mother, I had to pause and gather myself and figure out how to explain to him that, please, God, don't let that happen, number one, because I can't even promise him that it won't happen. And that's where I felt powerless. I felt really powerless in that moment. And what I did do is I tried to talk to him about our history, about the civil rights movement. And I think as parents and as Black people, we have a responsibility to educate our children about our history, because the schools are not doing it. And the one thing that I've learned through this Zoom education and online education, the curriculum is not for us. So we better start getting real serious about teaching our history to our children. Otherwise, this movement will be in vain, because they won't have the tools to navigate the next time this comes around. And that's real talk. And so I've really every day tried to do something to teach my son about our history, whether it's visual or practical. And one of the things, you know, thank God for Spike Lee and John Singleton. Let's just say that, because they really, when nobody wanted to tell about the Black experience, those were the two directors who were really committed by any means necessary. So when I can now turn on Malcolm X and it's timeless, and I see these beautiful visual shots, and I see the platform and the roadmap that they've laid for us, I do feel a sense of responsibility. I feel a sense of responsibility to bring in other actors that I respect and that I love and that I have a connection to, and to tell different aspects of our Black experience. And this might be a get your popcorn kind of movie, call your girlfriends and yell back at the screen, but that's still part of our experience. And so we have to embrace all of those things. But it's hard to talk about anything without talking about the landscape in which we are navigating.
Yes.
Hi,
And I just had a coffee, so I'm like, brrr.
My name is Cornelius out of Atlanta. I host a show up front inside Atlanta's entertainment industry. Loved the movie. Omar, I don't think I'll ever look at you the same. Wow. So my first question is for Nia. There was a lot of physicality to this role. I don't think we've ever seen you kick ass before. Totally loved it. And just wanted to know, how much fun did you have with that last scene? Because when he was hanging over the edge, over the cliff, I was like, oh my gosh, I've never seen you like do that before. So how much fun did you have with that part?
You want the honest answer, or do you want the Hollywood politically correct answer?
I want the honest to God truth.
The honest answer is it was the last night of shooting. It was 2-something in the morning. It was freezing, and we couldn't see anything because the whole point was for that very last moment to be in the dark. I knew I was good because Steven had my legs, so I was like, I'm not falling. Ooh, I can't talk too much. I was more worried about the stunt going wrong. Like I know that, people we were working with professionals who were great and all of that, but that mama bear in me was like, all right, get the shot, get the camera, let's go. No dilly-dallying when we're in our positions, let's shoot. And I think that was the only day that I ever really got a little bit more firm with roll the cameras, because we were all literally in our positions at 3:00 in the morning. And I can't really get into any more detail, but what I will say is you want to take precautions during that time. And some of it I did, some of it my stunt double did, but for the most part, we actually, the three of us, really figured out the blocking of the scene. Remember, guys, how we went back and forth 4 or 5 times and tried to kind of figure out what made sense. And yeah, we were definitely figuring it out that night. I'll just say that with a smile.
It was great. It was a great movie. I enjoyed myself and definitely will watch it again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ray.
Hey, well, I wrote African History for Dummies, so we're working on getting that back in print. So, but
cool.
I wanted to ask you, Nia, particularly, why was this the right time for you to produce?
Because I said to myself, I'm ready to produce. And I think that's kind of I don't know, I have this thing in my experience in this life where if I ask for it and I'm very serious about it and I'm working towards it and I'm ready for the next thing and I just speak it, I mean, that's God. We can call it whatever we want, but that's my relationship with my God. And I know that when I decide to do something, it usually happens. It's never easy, but I'm deliberate and specific about what I want. and I'm not going to do something that I don't think I'm ready for. And this happened to be like the right first project to get my feet wet. You know, it was more about good acting, good camera operating, and good chemistry between the actors more than anything else, because with that, you can kind of accomplish anything.
And Omar, you got to say something about this being the 20th anniversary of Love and Basketball.
Oh, man, you want to age me some more?
It's not aging when it's a classic. So, I mean, it's a blessing to be here.
Yeah, thank you. I think as artists, everything that you're a part of, you want it to be able to travel through time, but you never know. And I think it's just, when I think back, it's amazing that was Gina Blyther's first film. She wrote and directed. We were young actors, and it's just such a universal story, but it's also a timeless story. And that's just been an amazing caveat to that experience for me. Like, who would have imagined, 20 years later, like, people still love that film. The culture still loves the film in the way that they do. So I'm forever thankful for that.
And Steven, do you like being the good guy? This is not typically, like, you're usually a good guy, but you're the guy that comes around to being a good guy.
Yeah, you're right. I typically play the good guy, but the good guy that has an edge, that has some flaws. And, after playing the part that I played Until Death Do Us Part, which was the bad guy, coming back to this part was a safe and comfortable place for me to be. It was good to be able to really play a guy that was extremely loving and wasn't the edge, the guy with the edge, or the guy with the extra girl on the side, or the guy that was always in some mess. Just the straight, good family man. It was enjoyable. It was enjoyable. It definitely was.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
How you all doing? This is E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews out here in Chicago. Excuse me one second. Ms. Nia Long, it is such a pleasure to be able to speak to you today. I am a longtime fan, and shout out to you on your very first producer credit. By the way, hey, Omar, Steven, y'all cool too. Y'all cool too.
Omar, you got it. You got it, bro.
You got okay, cool. I'm just being stupid.
We're enjoying watching you do this, man.
Look, I just need my wife to skip this part. But anyway, I got a question for all three of you, and you can go Nia, Omar, and Steven in that order. Now, this film deals with a lover-stalker dynamic. And as celebrities, I'm not sure if you guys have actually had stalkers or not, but I am curious. And I'm gonna give you this hypothetical. Let's say after the club bar scene, something like that really happened to you. What would you do, same or different than Ellie's character in this, if you had an entangled stalker?
Well, I've had a stalker, and it's no fun. My stalker was a 60-year-old-ish Black woman who showed up at my house who thought she was married to me.
Wow. And
my older son gave her a piece of his mind. And I was like, yes, son, protect mommy. And then several days I would see her just kind of hanging out in front of my house. And finally I had to give her a piece of my mind, and I never saw her again. So I think there's nothing fun about the idea of being a stalker or being stalked. How do you say that? Yeah. Either way, it's not a good thing. I think what makes this film interesting and fun is the journey. These films are sort of, there's a formula We know there's going to be a love triangle. We know somebody might die. We know somebody may have cheated. And that's why the casting was so important to me, because I wanted people that the community loves and recognizes and who they're familiar with. And that's sort of, you know, where my producerial hat started to, or my producerial mind started to take action as like, okay, well, this is not going to be an Academy Award winning film. That's not what these types of films are for. But let's load this up with people that are beloved and who, you know, are familiar to all generations, and try to make a great movie with a subject that is, you know, it happens every day, where somebody just has a very warped perception of reality.
Thank you. Omar, Stephen?
I actually did have a stalker. I never met this person, but for years on Wikipedia, there was some woman claiming that we were married and she was the mother of my oldest daughter, right? And that's when I found out that Wikipedia doesn't have an office, because I'm like, how do you call these people? Like, it's just crazy. It's just like you gotta email them. But yeah, I mean, you know, dealing with those type of things is different. It's different. I think that's, to be honest with you, like, I think that's part of why my demeanor has been the way that it is, you know, throughout these years, offset, because I'm still that kid from Brooklyn. And if I'm with my mother or my grandmother, or like, I shift into a whole different energy. Like, we're not playing those games. And now that I'm a father and have kids and a husband and all that, we can't play with that energy, because, you know,
Somebody might get their ass kicked, is what he's
yeah,
saying.
that's what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Keep it 100.
Hey,
and
man.
You know what? Before you answered, I was gonna say Nia from Brooklyn, y'all. Don't get it
Don't get it twisted.
And we have last question, Malik.
Hi, Gil. I didn't see you.
I was in the background hiding. How you doing?
I'm good, babe. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I told you we got you.
I know you do. I trust you with my life and my children. You want them? I'll bring them over.
We've known each other long enough, certainly.
Right? Thank you for hosting this. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mr. Malik, you have the last question.
Hey, everybody. This is Malik from Really Dope out in Oakland. My last question, or I guess the last question for the roundtable is, first with Nia and then broaden it out, is that what were your biggest challenges with this being kind of your first production role? And then what were the most rewarding moments of producing? And then for everyone else, kind of what was the biggest challenges or most rewarding moments for doing this particular film?
Steven, you want to hit it first?
Wait, can you repeat the question? Because I heard the question for Nia.
Yeah, so just like what were your biggest challenges and or most rewarding moments working on this particular film?
Oh, for me? Oh, okay, go, Steven.
Okay. I'll go with the most rewarding moments. Like I said, you know, as an actor, you know, coming from an athletic background, as an athlete, you always want to know that you measure up. You always want to, you know, you get to the next level, and you want to know that, hey, you know, I can play on this field. I can, you know, I can swim in this pool. And as I said earlier, after my first scene with Nia, I could tell that she was very generous about, you know, how she let me know that I was cool. You know what I'm saying? And the work that I was doing was solid. So, you know, to be able to feel that energy from somebody who is not only employing you, but is your, you know, your counterpart as an actor, is very rewarding and very validating as an actor. And I think that was, you know, probably my favorite moment. I mean, there were so many good moments, but, you know, just, you know, having that sort of a stamp of approval was very rewarding for me in this project.
Well, first of all, Stephen, you are such a creative. I don't even know you as an athlete. Like that doesn't, like your soul is so creative. Like this is so natural for you. And it's funny because being an athlete is like such a different part of your brain, like a completely different. Is that a plane?
Yeah, I think it's a helicopter.
It sounded so crazy on the side. You came in with so many wonderful ideas, and we tried things different ways, and you know, we really wanted to make this relationship feel real but not too perfect. And I just felt like you were so right on in terms of your instincts. So, and by the way, I didn't employ you. That was Netflix that employed you. I have nothing to do with that, but I'm so happy that you joined us, and I feel really proud of the work that we did. I think for me, the biggest challenge in all of this is that this was the first time in my career where I worked every single day and I was almost in every single scene. So by the end, I was exhausted. And we were driving from LA to Malibu every day, which was like an hour drive. So I would sleep in my car, look at my lines for the day in my car. And it's like, for those, how long was our shoot? 4 weeks? About
yeah.
4 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah, for a month, like it was just, you know, the weekend doesn't even matter because you're just, all you want to do is sleep and wash your clothes and hug your children and try to, you know, cook a meal. So that was the most difficult part, was just working every single day for 30 days straight.
I think for me, the challenging part was to, even though it's a popcorn film and we know all that, you still have to keep the characters grounded. You still have to keep their interactions grounded, because that's when the audience is going to immerse themselves emotionally. And so I think that was the biggest challenge for us, not to let it get away from ourselves in certain moments, because that's easy to do. My favorite moments, well, overall, you know, to be a part of my girl's first film as a producer is the cherry on the pie. But selfishly, my favorite thing in this journey was to creep out the script supervisor. Because we would do these takes, and I would look at her, and she just started looking at me like, that's creepy. And so that became my thing. Like, so when we called cut, if she was creeped out, I know I nailed it.
You were definitely creepy. I was like, oh my gosh. Especially the scene where he leans over when I'm sleeping in bed. I'm like, this is not real. I would have felt him. I argued with the director so much with Peter about that. He goes, no, trust me, it's gonna work. I said, Black women with children do not sleep. I'm gonna wake up if I feel him on me. And so it works in the moment, but I definitely, like, that was one of those moments where I was like, I don't know about this one, guys. But then, you know, that was servicing the suspense, that's servicing the buildup. Like, not every moment. That's why we have movie magic, and that's why things are sometimes, you know, not as realistic as you know, we want them to be.
Hey, if I could interject, one thing that you did that I didn't bring out is you didn't play Ellie the way that we typically see these women. At every moment, Ellie just always thought that she was in control, and she kept like, I'm gonna handle this, I'm gonna handle this. And we don't usually see that kind of control in these types of films.
Mm-hmm. I think with all the women I play, even when they're in their most vulnerable moments, I try to play into the truth. And I never play into being a victim. Like, I think women are, you know, if you look at the history of filmmaking, oftentimes we are required to be the victim to build up the man. And in this situation, even though she was the victim, she wasn't a victim. This was her choice. She took responsibility for it. It imploded. Shit went down. It got, you know, and there it is. But I never want to play into the story. I think that's a mistake when actors do that. You kind of want to play against the story, especially when you ultimately kind of know what's going to happen. But that's you know, that's part of the formula of a thriller.
Well, you know, this could go on and on and on forever, which is a good thing because we enjoyed the film. On behalf of the world's largest group of Black film critics, we want to thank each of you. We want you to know that we got you, that we are here for you, and that we will continue to uplift and support your careers. You guys have a terrific day. Again, congratulations on this amazing film. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. It's a great popcorn movie. Nia, I am so proud of you producing.
Thank you, Gil. That means a lot coming from you. I know you've seen a lot of, you know, talent come and go and come back again. And I just feel I was really happy to know that you guys, you know, agreed to join us today. I think, you know, Black press is important. Our perspective, our voice, our attendance and love of one another is extremely important. And this is how, you know, the word gets around to support each other's work. So thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Can I say something really quick to all of
Sure.
you guys? One, we stand on the shoulders of giants. And two, we're not going backwards. So I just
Not at all.
Real.
That was great to hear.
Even though I'm 5'2", I'm standing tall.
That's right. That is right. That is right.
I know about that.
We'll see you guys soon.
Love
All
y'all.
right, thank you.
Bye.
Guys,
Bye.
Nia.
Omar.
Bye, Omar.